Greetings, fellow traveler. My name is Niall Deehan and welcome to this tutorial on Camunda and RPA, in which we are going to build a process and then orchestrate a RPA Robotic Process Automation bot to do some kind of action, then return to the process. This is going to be a fun little tutorial with lots of bits and pieces, so let me quickly explain. The first thing we're going to do is, of course, we are going to use Camunda SaaS to create an account, and then we are going to build a process model and deploy that in the cloud. Meanwhile, on our desktop, we're actually going to install the local modeler to build our script. We're also going to run the robot here locally and then write the script and then deploy that script to the cloud where it'll actually run and trigger the robot locally. Fun. As foretold mere moments ago, we are going to start with the SaaS version of Camunda and open up the web modeler. Here we're going to build and deploy our BPMN process. And our process today is going to be BPMN process that is going to get a QR code. So this is something that folks ask me a bunch of times, which is QR code links to whatever it is I'm showing. And it's a very, very nice little feature. So we have a URL, URL needs QR. And the end result is that we're going to have a QR code generated. QR generated. Now, interestingly, there's lots of ways to generate a QR code. The one I tend to use is I go to a website and I enter in the URL and then it generates a QR code for me. Then I copy and paste it and stuff. Today, we're going to automate that. We're going to use our robot to be able to go in, open up the website, enter in the URL we want, generate the QR code. Then we're going to have it just copy that QR code from the page and then send it back to the process where it can be displayed to the user. So that's our plan. For that, we only really need two tasks, and two forms and one robot. So I'm going to start here with create QR code. So this is our task that's going to trigger the robot. And then secondly, right here, we're going to have a user task. And this thing here is going to display QR code. Okay. Now, let's start off with the front end here. It's very, very simple. I'm going to go here. I'm going to create new front end. And this is where we're going to get our URL. So this is going to be enter URL, and then it's going to create a variable called URL, which we'll use later on. And then we're going to pass that to the robot so it knows what URL it wants to do. So back to our diagram, we are then going to head here. And if you don't already see it, you should be able to type in RPA bot here. If you don't see the element template, you can just go to the marketplace here. And here you can then type in RPA connector. And you'll see it right there. You can click download. It's going to add that to your project, so now it becomes available. Great stuff. And if you don't see it at all, it could be because the version you're using might be older. This is available only in 8.7. So you see I'm going to change it right here. And now I'm going to just go here and say RPA. There it is. Super. So now I have my RPA bot. Next, my script. This is the ID of the script that we'll be sending later. So I'm just going to call this RPA get QR tutorial. I'll be creating the script, as I said, locally on the desktop. So that's all we need to do. The rest seems pretty okay. Yeah. That's all I need to do, really. I'll come to the front end in a few minutes. Let's just go here to the link, create new front end. Now, what we're getting back from the bot are two images, two pictures, right? And so what I want to do is I want to be able to sort of display those images. One is going to be an image of the URL and one is going to be an image of the QR code. And because I know I'll get a image back from my robot, I just need to go and select document preview, because it'll be a document that comes back. And I then just need the document reference, which again is going to be QR code. And this will display the one or more documents that get returned from the bot. So we are going to return to our diagram. So now we have our front end where we enter our URL. We have our other front end where we display our URL, our QR code and stuff is returned. And now it's up to us to build this script. So let's start that. we need to start with a little bit of setup. That involves downloading and installing two things. The first thing is that the Camunda Desktop Modeler, which you can find under camunda.com/download/modeler. Link is below. And yeah, pick your poison. You go here, you go to Open Source Desktop Modeler, and you pick the operating system you're using and download that. I'm using Windows, so I downloaded a Windows one, this one here. And in the end, you should have downloaded and unzip something like this. And you should be able to double click on the modeler and open that up. And you should see something like this. So that's step one. Step two is downloading the robot. Now this is the runtime that actually executes the script. With RPA, it kind of needs a machine to run off because it's going to be opening web browsers and doing all sorts of stuff. So we have a little bit of code that we can then give a script to activate. It also does a cool thing where it also subscribes to events in the process engine, so we can sort of take actions based on the process. And that can be found here in GitHub. Camunda RPA Worker releases. You'll see the version I'm using is 0.7.2. And again, I've picked my Windows download here. I unzip it and you should end up with something that looks like this. And if we extract that locally, there we go, we should have these two things. We should just have our executable and our properties, and we'll talk about the properties shortly. But basically, that is the two aspects, the two things we need up and running. So let's start off with getting the desktop modeler up and running, and then we'll talk about the RPA bots. So let's get started. So we're in the modeler and we're going to be using this to build our RPA script. Now, as you can see, I have a little RPA script thing right there. You should see it. And the end, as we click this, this is quite nice. So once we click it, it shows us an example file, which I think is really handy. And this one just runs a little RPA challenge. One of the interesting things you will see is that down here we see that the worker is not connected. That means you can build these, but you can't connect them because we haven't set the worker up yet. So I want you to keep an eye on this because we're going to get started once this thing here goes green. And I'm going to do that by going back to my the place where I installed the worker, and we are going to go in here, and this little executable, I'm going to open up a terminal and I'm just going to run that. And running this is just show the terminal here. So running this, I want you to keep an eye on this stuff here because it's going to install a bunch of stuff. There's a couple of things to keep an eye on when you're installing this. We see that Python is being added, and we see loads of things happening here. And also this little thing by the end should go green. That's when you know things are running. So it's going to be doing a bunch of things, creating a bunch of files, and then it'll start itself up. And we'll know it's successful when this little chappy down here goes green. Okay, it's basically worked now. We have the thing's gone green, it's finished setting stuff up, and this means that the worker now is running correctly. And we don't need to change anything to test it. We can run this, we can test it by clicking on this test script, and this will then activate this task. So by hitting that, we run the worker locally, and then it should be able to it's going to start up a web browser and then do a bunch of things. Mine is started up on a different screen. So here we go. It's going to kick off this RPA challenge thing. So it goes here. It's going to fill in some data, do a bunch of things. Looking pretty good. Okay, good stuff. And then it's going to close, and then it's going to tell us how we got on. So we see here the test passed, we have the response here, and so on and so forth. But as I said, we don't really care. We're going to build our own cool script. So I'm going to drop that for a second, and I'm going to talk through what this stuff is and build our own. I want to talk through exactly what we want to do before we write this, as in click through it. So I'll do that right now. So here is my Chrome browser, and what I actually want to do here is I want to open up a tab. I want to go to qrcode-monkey.com. I want to go here. When I open this up, I see I need to click on accept cookies. Okay, so I'll need to do that. I then want to go in here and put camunda.com. I then want to click on create a QR code. Okay, great. And then I need to copy this and send it to Camunda. So that's what we're going to do. The best way to explain what's going on here is to get rid of all of this and then talk about what it is as we build it. So let's start off with the high level stuff. What we are looking at here is Robot Framework. It is a Python-based RPA tool which lets you describe how you can step through a system, be a web browser or on a desktop computer or loads of stuff like that. It's really, really popular, and I've used it before. I really quite like it. It's open source. And if you have any questions around it in terms of how this should function or some features you want to use with it, you want to go and do a search for Robot Framework examples. So just as a fun note. And then anything you can do in Robot Framework, you can do here. So the first is we have these high level things. These three dashes. These are the highest level way of separating out your script. The first is the settings, which you can think of as imports, and we're going to leave these as are because we're using all of these. We're using the Selenium and not really using this. Actually, we can get rid of that and that sort of thing. So we can keep that there. And the next thing is tasks. Okay, this is again sort of the high level execution. So this is going to be like, what are the main things we're going to be executing? And the top one is going to be get QR code, and this is going to involve a few different tasks. It's going to, let's say, generate QR code, and then secondly it's going to send QR code. These are the two things we're going to do. And these are like method names. We haven't written the methods yet, but this is basically what they look like. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add another section called variables. Variables are going to be the place where we're going to store sort of the variables to be used within the process. Now, it's important to know that when we start this, you don't need to add all the variables that will exist in the process. Right, they'll already be sent. You don't have to redefine them. But this is just in case for testing and stuff like that. So we know we'll have a variable called URL, and that's going to be some kind of URL like, I don't know, let's add camunda.com. Let's put www in there and see what happens. Cool. So there's our variable. Cool. And then next up we have essentially the place where all the stuff happens. Keywords is what it's called, and it's where the list of methods. Now we already know that we need to generate QR code as a thing. So let's type in here generate QR code, and the first thing we want to do is we want to open a web browser to the specific location that we're looking for. Now, this is not too difficult. We have a pretty good way of describing things. So for instance, if I type open, we have here all the methods available to us. Open available browser, and then we're going to add the URL that we want to go to, which is the QR code monkey URL. So that's there. So that's the first thing we do. We open the web browser. Now there's a few different things we can do here. We want to wait until it loads, and there's actually loads of really good ways of doing it. I'm going to use a really simple way, which is just making it sleep for like 2 seconds. So I can use sleep and then 2s. The correct way to do that would be to say wait for a condition. You can wait for the page to actually finish loading if you want, but I like typing things smaller. So next we actually want to click on something. So I'm going to let's say click on a button. Now this is the first say click button. Now you remember that the thing we want to click on is we want to click on the accept cookies button, right? Because we know that's there somewhere. And this locator object is really cool. That can be a whole bunch of different things. It can be the location in the HTML or XML of the button. It can be the ID. It can be the class. There's loads of ways of finding stuff. I'll just show you this one time how to find this particular thing in the web browser. Okay, so there we are. We're back here, and we really want to click on this button. So how do you find it? So obviously you just need to right click and you can say inspect, and that finds it. And there we have the button with the ID right there. So the ID is one trust accept button handler. And so in the click button thing, I just need to go over here and replace locator with ID : and then the ID of the button, and then it'll then find it and click it. So that's basically it. That's how I did that. And you can do that then for every other kind of thing you want to do. So after we click our button, we then want to input some text, right? So we want to put some text into the thing. So input text, and that again is going to be a locator. So where do we want to put that text? And as before, I won't go through it again, but I can just inspect the place, add the ID and the text. In this case, I'm going to add our a variable, whatever the variable happens to be. And then we want to click the button. This time we're clicking the create QR code button. And there we go. And this is going to take a few seconds. So I'm just going to once again sleep. Again, this is not the best way to do it, but it's the way that both makes it easier to look at when I run it, because it could be actually, it could run too fast if I don't have these sleeps I found before. So now we have at this point our QR code is generated. And as we see here, that's the first part here. And the second part is actually sending our QR code. So let's do send QR code, our next method. And that is going to be, let's see, that's going to involve taking a screenshot of a couple of elements, right? I want to take a screenshot of what the URL we sent in is and what the QR code is. And I'm going to use capture element screenshot. And instead of using the locator that I did before, which was the ID, I'm going to just do a search using the XPath. So I'm going to look for, using XPath, an image that contains the class called card type. I found that's much easier to find the element. And now we're going to give it a name, and that name is going to be called QR code.png. Okay. And then I'm going to also take a picture of, so this is the, yep, that's good. I now want the URL. So I'm going to say capture element again. Once again, this time I'm going to use, because it's a little easier, exactly the same ID as I did last time, because we're just going to take a picture of this input button essentially. And I'm going to say QR URL.png. And then finally, I'm just going to upload all of those documents. So upload, and this is going to be just all the PNG documents that we have. And the name of that is going to be a QR code. And later on, we'll then display that to the user. And then we'll just close the browser. Cool. So that should basically work. It looks good to me. So let's see if we can just save. Oh, wait, yeah, we need to give this. We'll save this first of all. Great. To let's call it get QR code and click save. Okay, and now we can test it, and we can test it by clicking on this lovely button right here. Now, I'm not going to test it right now because this will fail, because this upload documents thing is not going to work right now because we haven't connected it to the Camunda engine yet. We'll do that next. But just to make sure that this is working, I'll remove this line for now, and I'll just click test. It should do everything except for upload the files, because it has nowhere to put them right now. And then I'll do it again with that. So it's opened up in this browser. You can see the cookies thing is showing up. It's clicked on it. It's added the URL. It's taken the picture. Fantastic. And we'll be able to see that it was successful because we'll be able to see the screenshots and stuff that were taken. And we'll also be able to see, hopefully, a little success status here, or pass. And then, yeah, we will have succeeded, as well as the output variables, which won't exist right now. Okay, so it's passed, and once again we can go through here and see all the how everything was executed. Specifically, I'm just going to go and check out the screenshots. So we took a picture of the QR code and we took a picture of the URL. So that looks good to me. And so now we need to do a little bit of tinkering now to connect this to cloud. So I'm going to do that right now. So just to set up the current status that we have, right, a little check-in. We have a robot that's running. We have a model that's somewhere in the cloud, and we have our script that knows how to execute a certain thing. And we need to connect those together. And the first way we'll do that is by deploying this. First of all, let's give it a name. So the ID here is how it'll be found correctly in by the task. So if I go back here, we'll see that the script ID is RPA get QR code tutorial. So I'll copy that, the return back here, and that's what I'll give this the ID. Okay, so now once it's deployed, it'll find it. So now let's do the deploy thing. Now this is kind of interesting. The deploy mechanism is down here. You can click on that. And if I do, you'll see that I have a little deployment name. Let's call it tutorial. I can see where it's been deployed to, SaaS and Camunda A self-managed, and we can also see that I've also added a cluster client and secret. Okay, I want to talk through where to find that right now. I already have mine installed, but to actually get that, you need to go from here, go to your console. You'll probably have one cluster that's running. There's my little my group of clusters. Mine is Alpha 5, and then we have API, and there's our Camunda Modeler. And I just created a new client by clicking here. I give it the scope of ZB, and I give it that. Then I create it. Let's go with Modeler test. And once you create it, you will have the stuff you need here. So you see the client ID, we have the cluster ID, we have the secret there as well. And you can download those credentials and then add them to the modeler here. And then you can remember those and save them for future deployments. So I'm just going to stop that, and then I'm going to delete it for safety, because I trust you, but you know there are other people who I don't trust. And I don't want them knowing my secrets. So that's how to get the modeler able to deploy. So once that's up, you can click on deploy by clicking this. And hey, the script was deployed. So let's recap what's happened now. Well, right now we have the script, which is written, we know it works. It's now deployed to the to SaaS, where it can be called by this task. But there's one crucial piece, which is we need to connect the robot itself, which is located on my desktop, to the cloud so that it's able to take the work that needs to be done and the script and execute that. Because it needs to be, while it's orchestrated on the cloud, it's run locally on the machine. So let's do that. And to get that working, we just need to go back to the fun little RPA worker that we started with. And we had two files that we started with. One was the application properties, and one was the executable. The properties is the one we want to play around with right now, because in that properties file, when I open it, you'll see that we have a bunch of stuff in here that we could add. The stuff here, SaaS production, is the one that we want, because we now want to run the script not locally but there. And you can see that it's got a bunch of stuff that needs to be configured. So where do we find this stuff? We need the cluster ID. So let's take a look at that. We need a region, we need a client ID, we need a secret. And once we have all of that, I guess in SaaS mode as well, we can then run it. So I'm going to just talk through how to get these properties. It is not at all dissimilar to how we got the modeler properties, with some slight differences. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to create a new client. I need both secrets and ZB, because it might need some secrets. And then I'm going to say RPA tutorial QR. Okay, I'm going to create that, and then I'm going to download the credentials. We see them, they're already there. So we just need, let's grab the client ID, let's put that here in client ID. Great. We need the secret. Let's put that here. We need the cluster ID, which is here, and the region, which is here. Okay. So let's save that. Let's close that, and now we can start up the worker. I'm going to kill it here, and now I'm going to spin it back up now, and we should actually see that it's closed, because we see that this thing is no longer connected. And now I'm going to just restart it. Okay, moment of truth. Cool, looking good. That's connected. So now we have a robot that's going to be able to be triggered by the SaaS engine, which means it can be triggered by a process. There's one more thing to do, very important. We need to add back in the upload document, which we took out for testing. And so upload documents, this little line here, and because now we want to run that. So now let's do everything we need. Let's save this. Let's deploy it. Okay, so the script is now deployed. Let's go to our model. We'll make sure we have our front end, which is there. We have our script ID matches the script ID here. Good stuff. We have our other front end. We've given this a cool ID, get a QR code, cool. And now we need to deploy this. Okay, great. Deployed, cool. And now we are going to run through this. So I'm going to go to task list, go to Alfie 5. There's no tasks running. I'll go here. Our thing is called get a QR code. So let's start it. Let's enter a quality URL. Let's go with this. Let's go with the release worker. Good stuff. Let's add that. Start process. Okay, so now we should see that the process has started, and locally on my machine, there we go. This thing is kicked off locally. It's taking some pictures. Cool. So now that's going to complete, and once it completes, it's then going to show us a new task here. And there it is. So we click on this. We see the two documents. There's the workers release web page. There's the QR code that was generated. Here's the process that we executed. And if we want, we can even go in to see the details of the process within Operate. So that way we can see what's going on. So let's go here. So we see this is the instance that's running. We can see that these are the documents that were sent back, the URL. And yeah, so now we have our process running. Hope that was helpful. I hope you also enjoy building your own little robot stuff yourself. And yeah, let me know what you think. And if you think you should need a little more information about what other things to build, let me know. I'll see if I can build some more videos around RPA. Until then, cheerio. Goodbye, fellow traveler.